Welcome to this webinar from ESS BIZTOOLS, where today we are going to look at products that are included within the Business Advisory Services segment of ESS BIZTOOLS. If you have any questions during the webinar, can you type them in, please, and in webinar terminology, raise your hand, and I will answer your questions later in the webinar. When you first go onto the site of ESS BIZTOOLS, we'd like you to look at how it works. There's an interesting chart there which outlines the key features of ESS BIZTOOLS, which has been designed to assist accountants and advisors deliver a wider range of services. For those of you who were at the ATSA conference in Melbourne last week, you will be aware that the Second Commissioner of Taxation made some very profound statements relating to the accountancy tax agents industry when he talked about what is likely to happen over the next 2 years with the introduction of the standard business reporting system. The second Deputy Commissioner indicated that the Taxation Office had given a assurance to the Productivity Commission that the changes that the Tax Office are introducing with standard business reporting will reduce the cost to small businesses by $500 million per annum. When he was asked a question where that money was going to come from, he rather reluctantly at first indicated that it was going to come from the accounting tax agents industry. He then said, "This is your digital disruption." So the Taxation Office really believe that there's going to be significant savings. They indicated in this presentation that with the new software that is currently being produced that will incorporate the standard business reporting, that many small businesses would be able to just lodge their own tax return if they wished. When he was asked what accountants might be going to do, he said, well, there's some huge cash flow management issues for small business because small business is the area that owes about 60% of the Taxation Office's debt at present. But there's no doubt that a lot of the processing work is going to be eliminated. Therefore, we believe it's an appropriate time for businesses to be really committing to a strategy to develop a policy on business advisory services for your firm. So at the very beginning of ESS BIZTOOLS, we've got papers. There's 500 odd papers that are targeted at small, medium enterprises that our subscribers are allowed to badge with your name, logo, address, etc., and send to your clients. We have developed business advisory services, which we're going to have a closer look at in a couple of minutes. The first component of that is how you get ready to deliver business advisory services. And the second component is the products which we have pre-prepared, ready for you to start using after you have familiarized yourself with the material. And that is the area we're going to be looking at in a closer way today. Business Plus newsletter is a newsletter targeted at small business that we prepare each month except January. But in March there's in May there's 2 extra editions on the federal budget as it affects small business, and the second webinar is on the end-of-year tax planning checklist. Client mentoring and coaching is educational material to assist your clients to understand the type of services that your accountancy business can supply to them. One of the reasons we're emphasizing that is, despite survey after survey saying that SMEs are looking for more financial services, many of them have not made the connection that their current accountant might be able to do that work, because in the words of SMEs, basically all that their current accountant has said to them in many cases is about taxation, and they really don't know that your accounting firm might be able to offer a wider range of services. So by sending the educational material, which has been prepared in 12 separate modules, depending on what the situation of the client is, starting a business, an advanced business owner, dealing with banks, wanting to raise capital, starting an export business, etc., you are going to be educating the client in the type of services that your firm's able to provide. Leadership modules have been written by a separate business, Leadership Academy, which is headed by Peter McDougall, a former colonel in the Australian Army. Some of our clients find the leadership modules very inspiring in their own leadership challenges within their accountancy businesses. And after taking their own team through the leadership modules, they're then able to offer consultancy services in leadership to clients. ESS BizGrants is a product we produced in response to a report that was submitted to us by David Smith, the CEO of Smith Inc. 2020 and a former president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Australia, that when he was surveying small medium enterprises, he found that one of the frequent criticisms of accountants was that their accountant was not keeping them aware of government grants that were available, and they were not very impressed that one of their competitors down the road had secured a government grant and they knew nothing about it. I think it's a real challenge for accountants. We've developed a product. We released the second version a few weeks ago. It's a very streamlined process that is linked to the tax office business numbers that you use in your client's income tax returns to facilitate the identification of grants that might suit individual small businesses. We also have client seminars. There are 34 pre-prepared seminars, which also these days can be utilized as webinars that are available for you to use to further promote and educate to your clients the type of services that you're able to offer. There are hundreds of forms on various aspects of the system that are available, and there are video tutorials throughout ESS BizTools. So that is the total package of ESS BizTools. Some of the individual components can be subscribed for separately if you wish, such as ESS BizGrants, the Business Plus newsletter are available for separate subscription, and also some of the products which I'm going to go to now. So that's the overview of ESS BizTools. What I intend to do now is to go to Business Advisory Services products. So we go to the products menu, we click on Business Advisory Services. We are launching a new website in 2 weeks' time. So some of these items are going to be changed. This page here, having both the introduction to business advisory services and the product modules on one page, will be different. So if you can look at what we have on the right-hand side, please, these are the modules within ESS BizTools, and we're going to have a look at 2 or 3 of these in a bit more detail in a moment. So the products that are available are first of all, there's a debtors management system. So this is a system that's been prepared to assist an accountancy firm to undertake a due diligence review of your client's debtors system. It does include some aspects of the personal property securities register, and we do have a very detailed system on the PPSR, which is listed later in this list of products. We also have developed a SME debtors systems manual. Now, this is meant for you to adapt, edit to suit a particular client's requirements after you've completed the debtors management review, and you are then able to badge this as being developed by your firm, and then you're able to supply it to them. And obviously we suggest that you charge a fee for that. Business health check, we have 5 industries in this system at present. It's a system to enable you to prepare the key performance indicators and ratios of a business so as to give the owner a better understanding of their internal performance. It tracks a whole range of activities from sales, cost of sales, wages, distribution expenses, operational expenses, profitability returns, and you could then use some of that information to participate in benchmarking comparisons with other businesses. Business Evaluation Workshop is a pre-prepared workshop that you might use with your client to enable a overall health check type review of the business, to have a discussion with the client. You could schedule it for 4 hours or a whole day to try to identify issues within the business, and the procedure and the PowerPoint slides guide you through undertaking that sort of review with your clients. Budgets and cash flow forecasts encourages you to look at the theoretical side of budgets and cash flow forecasts before just going into spreadsheets and inserting figures. Things like, what is the debtors days outstanding? What's going to be the aim this year? What is the stock turn rate? What is the budgeted aim going to be this year? What's happening in other aspects of the business? Within that separate module, there are separate components to assist in calculating trades, manufacturing businesses' charge-out rates that then feed into a budget for that type of business. There's also a set of modules on the calculating of professional fees that could be utilized for an accountancy business, a legal business, an engineering business, engineering consulting business. And there is a calculation of retail pricing chart so as to assist the business to establish targeted sales mixes so as to achieve an overall profitability target. That material is within the system. It's on Excel spreadsheets. It's all linked. So if you feed the information in, you will get the results that you can then discuss with your client. Chief Financial Officer Services is a set of guidelines of the type of services you might offer to a client, to offer to them a virtual Chief Financial Officer service. Most of your clients are probably going to be under turnovers of $20 million, and most of those businesses will not have a full-time accountant or a CFO. We believe that the market for those type of companies is looking for additional services. You can probably provide that. We know of some of our subscribers who are doing that. One of the firms at the ATSA conference last week indicated that average client fees were up around $150,000 in that particular practice. It's quite staggering. But they were basically offering ongoing Chief Financial Officer services. So some firms are doing it. Strategic business mentoring is a level above the CFO service, which is looking at basically a partner in the firm performing a finance director type role to assist the CEO, managing director, and the company as a whole to achieve its strategic targets for a 2 to 3 year period. This may have come about because the client had indicated that they might want to sell or retire from the business in a few years' time, and they asked you what you thought the business was worth. You've done a valuation, say valued the business at $2 million. The client had told you that they thought the business was worth $3 million. There's a great opportunity for an accountancy business to then identify strategies to be introduced over the next 2 to 3 years that will bridge that gap, will enable the business to be effectively worth $3 million, $3.5 million in 3 years' time, And to assist that in occurring, we believe there's a real role to offer a strategic business mentoring role to the client. Cash flow management is looking at cash flow issues within the business. Buying a business is a set of guidelines and templates looking at how you might assist a client in undertaking a proper due diligence review on buying a business, looking at information that's available from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, looking at information that's available from businesses which record traffic counts and pedestrian counts in various locations around Australia, making sure that the business the client is proposing to buy will be a viable one. Succession planning is a very important issue. It's looking at succession within a business, and there's a whole range of templates to assist you to conduct a succession planning review. Selling a business is obviously not easy at present in most parts of Australia. How are you going to differentiate your client's business? In many cases, there will be a need to implement a strategy that might take 6 months, it might take 3 years to get the business in a presentable shape to be able to have realistic discussions with potential buyers. How would you go about that? Survival in difficult times for SMEs is a detailed checklist to assist you to conduct a due diligence review on every aspect of the business's operations, from product development, marketing, sales, selling, human resources areas, exporting, research and development, obtaining government grants, profitability, succession planning, team training, management training. All of those questions are there, which enables the accountant to undertake that type of review with the client to be able to then identify further work that needs to be done to overcome some of those problems. Identifying grants and incentives is a introduction to businesses that are not quite sure as to what this government grants component is all about. It enables you to have a bit more understanding of how grants are developed and what grants are available. We do supply information as to what's included in ESS BizGrants, which is a product we have developed which will actually assist in identifying grants for individual businesses. Personal Property Securities Register is our latest product. We've prepared it because of the problems that appear to be occurring in the business community. You've only got to look at the amount of money that's been lost so far. There's been major court cases in Australia. There's been millions of dollars lost by the people who paid for an asset, have lost it because they had not registered that asset on a personal property securities register. I still have great difficulty in understanding the rationale behind this legislation. The previous government introduced it. The current government is elected to make no changes. And what I find very disturbing is neither the Labor government nor the Liberal government have offered money to train people in how this product can be used and what businesses need to do to make sure that they avoid the time bomb that has been effectively set on many of their day-to-day business transactions. We'll have a look at the Personal Property Securities Register shortly. Leadership is 8 modules that have been prepared by Leadership Academy to present the leadership component in more detail, in smaller packages that you might look at, first of all, training your own team in, and then offering it as a service for a fee to clients. So that's the overview of the products that are currently in ESS BizTools. We are planning to add another 3 products over the next 12 months into the system, and each year we'll be developing 3 to 4 new products in every 12-month period that are included within the Business Advisory Services module. Now I'm just going to check to see if I've got any questions. If you've got any questions, please send them through. There's no questions. So in the first instance, we might go to Debtors Management. And obviously in the time you've got today, this is an overview. When you first go onto one of our products, you will see an executive summary of what's included. You then need to download that. Which we're doing now, and you'll get a full detail of what's included. Now you need to go to the procedure control form, which at this stage is always near the end of the list when you go into one of our product modules. In our new website, we really are trying hard to make sure that's the first item that appears, because it's the sheet that you need to bring up, which will then guide you through the implementation of a debtors management review. Above these double lines here, you can put your logo, your name and your address so that you've badged the material. So this procedure control form has been designed to assist you to go to various aspects of the system. So there is a paper which guides you through debtors management. You can read, so you'd click there and go to that paper. There are forms to assist you in the quotation of a job, and this is similar to what's in each segment of our product modules. So there is a form to assist you in preparing a quotation, which you can utilize. We're just downloading that form now. So there's the form. You badge it again with your name. You put the client's name and reference and the dates. And this form might assist you to go through and consider what work you're going to have to do to undertake the full debtors review for your client. Presumably you know something about the debtors system for your client, but it might be a new client, so you will need to go through and prepare an estimate of the time, the various people that might be involved, and then you can determine a fee that you're going to charge. There's a payment schedule. On any sort of consulting work, we recommend that there is a progressive payment arrangement introduced, and most definitely that you always submit a written quotation, because this is different to normal client work. There is a proposal form or a quotation letter, which I'll just show you this on this one. We won't look at these types of forms when we go to a couple of the other products. So here's a proposal letter that you could put on your letterhead to send to the client. Obviously you can type your own. Our recommendation though is you make sure you prepare an engagement letter on each of these assignments, and you clearly identify to the client the sort of work that you're going to do, what it's going to cost, what your payment terms are. Cover yourself for additional work, because additional work can flow out of these assignments, and I recommend that you always get the client to sign acceptance of the quotation and get it sent back to you so you have it in your records. We then have some preamble work after you get the client's acceptance sent back. You might have to have a team meeting to work out who's going to do what. The system then gives you a system review questionnaire. Now this is a full detailed review of the client's debtors system that you could have one of your accountants sit down and work through with the client or the person responsible for debtors in the client. It's a very detailed questionnaire asking a lot of questions so that you can get a general feel for the effectiveness of the client's debtors system, because that's what this assignment's about, for you to then come back with recommendations as to what should be done within the client's system. We're talking about the personal property securities register there. It's a big issue, particularly in the debtors area. If businesses are going to rely on those to be able to utilise what they knew as remalpa clauses prior to 2012, they need to have completed terms of trade agreements and retention of title agreements, and to have registered a entry on the PPSR. A lot of businesses are not doing this. They don't understand it. I know there's some debate in some accountancy circles as to whether it's accountants' business. I believe it is, in conjunction with commercial solicitors. So this form goes on so that it's a detailed review of what is happening within the business, so you could do that. Then there are various forms that are included. We've got samples of systems forms and documents. We show them what a debtor's guarantee looks like. We have a system to assist in debtors monitoring. Which is giving a suggestion. Now we've got some dates in there. We're saying 7 days and 37 days. Obviously you can change that to suit a particular client. It's trying to make sure that there is an effective system that will prompt follow-up action to be undertaken straight away, not in 3 or 4 weeks' time when someone thinks about it. We've got some notes on debtors discounting and factoring, on debtors insurance. We've included forms like an application to open an account. I believe one of the reasons debtors' days outstanding are so high at 54 days, according to Dun & Bradstreet at present, is that many people don't complete a debtors application form. So we have a form there that your clients could use so that they make sure they've undertaken some due diligence on the potential customer. There's a due diligence checklist. There's a form they approve the prospective customer. There's debt recovery letters, which we looked at a bit before. There's a form to assist in the calculation of debtors' days outstanding. In my experience, many small businesses don't know how to calculate debtors' days outstanding. So we've included the form there that you might then leave with that client to assist them in that calculation, so they can be calculating those figures very regularly. And to assist a small business to implement an effective debtors follow-up system, we've included a reduction checklist whereby they can identify who are the key debtors that they're going to go and get abnormal sums of money from in the next week, and what's the targeted collection, who's going to go and contact them and try to get that money. And then there's a system which will allow them to progressively record each week what they've received. Now that's a general overview of the Debtors Management System. What we're going to do now is just go back to the main menu. And I'm going to take you into the Debtors System Manual. We just go through the preamble, which is just a summary of what's in the system. Now this is a document that's been prepared to assist you to have a discussion with a client. There's a procedure control form, but there's really not much in this one because all you've got to do is badge the manual, and it will be able to be sent to the client. So this is the Debtor Systems Manual. We're suggesting that you go through and review this, make sure it complies with the system within this business. You could badge it with your name for your client. The benefit of this document is it allows the client to have a written system that they can be utilising with whoever's got the task of following up debtors in their organisation. It's got links to various forms, some of which I showed you just a moment ago, not all of them. But it's got commentary on what should be done in a debtors system. It's got a credit application form that I just showed you, the director's guarantee form. We have a sample of that in the system. Declining credit application. Talking about the personal property securities register. Checking out the bona fides of a new customer. One thing that I didn't show you in the previous system that I'll show you here now is a welcome to new customer letter. I think one of the contributions that's being made to very poor debtors payment periods in Australia is a lot of businesses are not sending a welcome to new customer letter. Gives them the opportunity to confirm the terms of trade. Also gives them the opportunity to confirm any additional information that's going to be supplied to the client so that they can be paid promptly. So that sort of document's included, and the form goes on and looks at other things. So our suggestion is you would edit this to suit the particular requirements of that client, and you would charge them for this document. We want everyone to be at least able to cover the subscription fee to ESS BIZTOOLS. We think you should be earning a lot more money in fees from the subscription you pay, ESS BIZTOOLS. But that's a fairly easy one. The system's prepared. You just review this and make sure it suits the particular client. If it doesn't, you're able to edit them, edit the document for them, and send it to them. So that's the debtors system. Don't forget, if you have any questions, can you send them through to me. The next area I was going to look at was the CFO services. Again, we have the preamble. There's a whole range of information in this particular item. One of our suggestions is you analyse who your clients are that have got turnovers of over $1 million, and they are your real prospects for a virtual CFO service. So we'll go to the procedure control form, because that will guide us through this whole material. So we have the paper again, which guides you through what should be in a Chief Financial Officer service, which you could read. There's a 25-step checklist, which might just click onto that so you can see what we're looking at here. So this is a workflow process for offering business advisory services mainly through a CFO service. So you could read that, make sure the team that are going to be talking to the client understand how that all works. You've then got the budget calculation and the proposal letter. We've looked at one of those and one of the others. We won't do that now. There's some briefing material on the duties of a Chief Financial Officer. So we might just click onto one of those. I wrote an article on duties of Chief Financial Officers. I reviewed advertisements in the Financial Review for about 2 months. For Chief Financial Officers, Chief Accountant, those type of positions. And I then summarised what the advertisements claimed they were looking for in an applicant under the various headings: financial function, commercial functions, business growth, and focus on key financial data. I found that very interesting because, especially once you zero in on clients with turnovers over $1 million, businesses which are trying to grow, even though all of these advertisements were in the main relating to larger businesses or organisations, a lot of this work also applies to smaller businesses. So if it's the work for a full-time Chief Financial Officer in a larger business, that work still exists within smaller businesses. Most small businesses do not employ an accountant or anyone remotely connected with being a CFO. This is the type of service that we believe that accountancy businesses can offer. There are coaching organisations out there trying to offer these services. We believe that the accountant is far better placed to offer these services. But you'll notice taxation doesn't get mentioned much in these lists. It talks about a whole range of other things: managing assets, debtors, stock, work in progress, bank accounts, bank relationships, whole range of activities. And based on the comments that I referred to at the beginning, that the Second Commissioner of Taxation stated last Tuesday morning in Melbourne, these are the areas that I believe accountants are going to have to start looking at a lot more closely and offering services. We have developed a package of services which will assist you to get into the market and hopefully will keep pace with your future requirements for products in the years ahead. There's a list of company secretaries' duties, but then we might just move into some of these others. We might look at a checklist of duties that a CFO could offer. And this is now a CFO in a small, medium enterprise type role. A lot of them are based on that previous article that I was referring to. That's not quite the list I meant. But you could go through and look at this and say, okay, which of these items should be included in our proposal to this client, the sort of services we're going to do for them. I was a CFO in a listed public company in many years ago in my career, and those sort of duties there do apply. Taxation is a long way from the top of the list of a CFO in a company. And I honestly believe a smaller private company is exactly the same way. We've developed a gold package of services that you might like to use if you don't want to design a set of services for your tax for your client. So obviously taxation is very much part of it. Taxation is going to continue, but it's going to be a smaller component of the overall fee mix. That is now very obvious. The tax office is guaranteeing, in effect, to the Productivity Commission a reduction in fees to small business. They call it red tape reduction of $500 million. I believe that the internal figure is probably a lot higher than $500 million. That's what they've publicly told the Productivity Commission that their changes in processing accounts and tax returns going to produce. I wouldn't be surprised if the figure's closer to $800 million. Combine that with the changes that are already underway within wage earner tax returns, and you put it all together, there's probably $1 billion change currently happening, driven from the tax office end in the accounting and tax agents market. And then you've got the added competition that's occurring, some firms getting work done offshore, which is then tending to depress prices, and it's becoming more and more a commodity type market. We've got some cash flow cycle charts so you can talk to your client about how much money they're tying up in their business. That link doesn't seem to want to work. My apologies, that link's not working, so I'll have to check on that. We've got sales funnel calculation sheets, which is really giving you some forms where you can sit down and talk to the client to say, well, if you've got budgeted sales of a certain figure, what's your average sales? Helping them to determine then how many sales contacts they've got to be making, how many proposals have got to be submitted, so that they can determine their level of contact that they need to be making if they are going to end up producing the overall sales figure that they are estimating. As we all know, a lot of proposals have got to go out. But before you can make proposals, there's got to be people who are in databases. They've got to be recorded in the CRM systems so that follow-up is able to be made. We've got debtors days outstanding calculations, stock metrics, and so it goes on. So there's a whole range of material contained within this particular product to assist you to offer a Chief Financial Officer service. And the last product I just want to visit now today is the Personal Property Securities Register. It's a very topical subject at present. Millions of dollars have been lost by businesses, both large and small. Some of it's been lost through decisions in court cases. We're currently preparing a range of new material based on the court case decisions. I can't find a case yet that's been won by the business who paid for an asset when the judge has decided that the Personal Property Securities Act applies. In each case, the case has been won by the liquidator, receiver or administrator that's been appointed. From our accountant subscribers who are utilising the procedure control form, we released it about 6 weeks ago, some of the reports I'm getting back indicate that less than 10% of clients have really got any idea of what the PPSR is all about. Some of them In the example I got, 1 out of 10 can vaguely remember receiving a letter from the accountant 2.5 years ago, when obviously the legislation was just starting. There's been no follow-up by the accounting firm. 10 out of 10 of one particular firm did not have any documentation prepared by a legal practitioner. So there's a set of procedures here. There's some very detailed papers on the Personal Property Securities Register and how it operates. But what I just want to take you through to now is the material that's there to assist clients. So we've got some frequently asked questions, list of those you could send to your clients. 10 top myths. There's some videos that have been produced by the government on the PPSR website and by a private company, PPSA Protection, who are very concerned about the government's lack of action. But the main part of this due diligence list is the checklist that I'm now bringing up. And this is the identification of personal property schedule. This is the form which we recommend that accountants and auditors should be using to undertake a due diligence review of what's going on in the business's affairs. This is the sort of work that I cannot envisage too many solicitors. In fact, I can't think of any solicitor that I've known over the years, and there's got to be 300 of them at least, that would want to go out to the client's premises and sit down and spend an hour, maybe a few hours, in some cases up to 8 hours, really analysing what's going on in the business. I really believe that as a trusted advisor, this is accountant's work. So we've broken the form down into the various components that we can see are covered by the legislation. And as we find anything new, we'll be adding that to the form, and obviously that will become part of the property that a subscriber can access. So stock needs to be examined. You're really concerned as to where the stock is situated. On our own premises, there's virtually no problem. I'm reluctant to say there's never any problem, but I don't think there's any problem. But when there's in leased premises and someone else's property and on consignment, there are real issues under the Personal Property Securities Act and the register. Now, to register, it is voluntary, and I think that's misled a lot of people. And also the name. How anyone called this legislation personal property, I got no idea. Seems to be very, very strange. I've had accountants say to me, "Oh, this is only for your golf clubs." I said, "No, it's not. It's for your business assets." Why did they call it personal property? I was asked. My reply, I got no idea. But it's there, it's operating, and millions of dollars have already been lost by businesses. There's a major court case underway at present where the liquidator is seeking guidance of the Supreme Court of New South Wales on assets worth $50 million. And that's occurring at the big end of town. A public company has gone into administration. The supplier of 4 turbines for a power station in Western Australia is a Canadian public company. Canada has got similar legislation to this, I'm told, yet they did not, it's alleged, they did not register on the PPSR. So for the cost of the Sydney Morning Herald called it a $16 investment. I think it would have only been $8, to be honest, but we won't quibble over that. For an $8 to $16 payment that would have covered them effectively for 7 years, the supplier is potentially going to lose out on a $50 million asset. Now, there's been a number of cases involving $2 million. But there's been other cases that have been reported to me and some of my colleagues of businesses losing $25,000, $40,000, $80,000. There's been preferential payment claims coming in from liquidators and administrators. And it's all because businesses have generally been unaware of this legislation. There's special provisions for crops under this legislation. In fact, they may get slightly better protection than what they had previously, so that's one good benefit for it, but I've had trouble working out what the real benefits of this legislation are for small businesses. So we then look at goods, and there's a number of different descriptions of goods. We have a new term that's been introduced based on goods that can be attached to other goods, and that's probably a slightly better position than what suppliers of goods that could be attached. So a staircase being attached to other plant and equipment in a coal mine was potentially not able to be protected under the Ramalpa clauses that existed prior to January 2012. That can now be effectively protected in the debtors system under this legislation. Artist works are caught up in this legislation. Plant and equipment has been some of the biggest problems have occurred around plant and equipment. And that's including tradesmen's plants, scaffolding and formwork and all of that type of equipment. We then get into motor vehicles. These are items that have got serial numbers, and under the legislation, if you're hiring, leasing, renting a motor vehicle, the period is 90 days. After 90 days, issues can occur, but a lease for an indefinite period can be very dangerous under this legislation if that asset happens to be, that motor vehicle, truck, tractor, happens to be situated on someone's property that they have an insolvency event. You can potentially lose that asset. Once again, I have difficulty working that out, but that's what the law says. I don't know if the politicians had a good look at this legislation when they voted for it, and I'm very concerned as to what the bureaucracy might have been advising them, because no one's really looked at this worst case scenario. I cannot believe that an Australian government was passing legislation knowing that millions of dollars were potentially going to be lost by the business owner, the one that had paid for it or had the commitment to pay for it through a bank loan. It flows into boats and watercraft, aircraft, and so it goes on. Now, I'm just going to skip through some of these to get to some of the other areas that you may or may not have considered in this legislation. Debtors can be very much part of this. The Ramalpa clauses that existed prior to January 12, I said this a little while ago, do no longer apply. And if your client wants to have protection on their debtors similar to what they used to have, they need a terms of trade agreement and a retention of title agreement signed by their customer, and then a lodgement made on the Personal Property Securities Register. Licenses and trademarks are also potentially caught, especially if they've been assigned to another entity in a group. That second entity, let's call it the trading entity, may have borrowed money, therefore potentially they could have an insolvency event. A liquidator or administrator gets appointed, and you can have a situation where the liquidator or administrator is claiming the right to that asset. Intellectual property, very similar. Loans can also get caught up, and so the list goes on. Statutory fishing rights, that's in the legislation, so I included it in our list. I really haven't had time yet to work out how it really works, but it's an issue that's been particularly raised in the legislation. Assets held by someone else, service entity arrangements. So that's a quick overview of how that particular legislation is operating. I'm just going to go back to see if there's any questions. I've got no questions. If you think of any questions later on, please don't hesitate to send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au. There is just moving back, there is a lot of material within ESS BIZTOOLS. We have developed it over the last 15 odd years that we've been supplying this as a product. to Australian and New Zealand accountants. What we've got now looks completely different to what we had a few years ago because the system is being continually updated. We believe it's essential that accountants understand the theory behind a lot of these business practices, and therefore we are proud to be a content supplier. You can subscribe to ESS BizTools on our website, www.essbiztools.com. You can visit it for a 30-day guest login. Just enter your login details. You can go to our other product, ESS BizGrants, at www.essbizgrants.com.au, and you can register there for a 14-day trial, so you can trial 1 or 2 or 3 clients to see how the system operates and how it will effectively assist you to be very proactive with your clients in identifying government grants for them. So thank you very much for participating in this webinar today. Don't forget, if you do have any questions, please contact us, and we look forward to having further conversations with you in the future. Thank you. Goodbye.